Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a pretty amazing story from the front lines of agriculture. It's about a microscopic hero defending one of our most important crops in a high-stakes battle for the future of our food.
So, let's dive right in. The victim in our story today is a global superstar, something you've probably eaten in the last week. We're talking about the humble potato. But deep down, it's facing a constant invisible attack.
I mean, think about it. On one side, you've got the potato, the world's fourth most important food crop. It literally feeds billions of people. But on the other side, it has this relentless enemy, a nasty fungal disease called early blight that can just ruin harvests. And this villain, it has a scientific name, Alternaria solani. Now, this isn't just some minor pest we're talking about. It's a fungus that can systematically take apart a potato plant. And that means devastating losses for farmers. So what does it actually do? Well, early blight shows up as these dark, kind of target-looking spots on the leaves, and it can even infect the potatoes themselves. It basically chokes the plant out, which slashes crop yields and hits our food supply chain right where it hurts. Of course, we haven't just been sitting back and watching this happen. For more than 50 years, our go-to strategy has been to just blast this fungus with chemical fungicides. But this kind of chemical warfare, it's really starting to backfire on us. And here's the problem. The more we spray these chemicals, the more the fungus adapts. It builds up resistance. And that just creates this vicious cycle where we have to use stronger and stronger chemicals, which, as you can imagine, raises some really serious questions for the environment and for our own health. Basically, the old weapons just aren't cutting it anymore. So this whole challenge got scientists thinking, what if we could fight fire with fire? Or, in this case, fight a bad fungus with a good fungus. And that brings us to the really cool world of biocontrol. Biocontrol is pretty much what it sounds like. You're basically recruiting a microscopic security team for the plant. It's a natural, much more eco-friendly way to use beneficial microbes to defend our crops from disease. A totally sustainable alternative to just dumping harsh chemicals on everything. So the hunt was on. Researchers started sifting through soil samples, literally looking for a natural-born killer, a beneficial fungus that could go toe-to-toe with that destructive early blight. And this search was pretty intense. They isolated and screened 30 different kinds of a fungus called Trichoderma. They basically put each one in a cage match against the blight to see which one really had what it takes to be the champion. And guess what? A champion did emerge. This quote from the research paper says it all. One specific strain, they called it Trichoderma viride AT5, turned out to be the most powerful opponent, stopping the blight dead in its tracks during lab tests. Okay, this is where it gets really, really cool. What's the secret sauce here? What makes this little AT85 so powerful? Well, it's not just one thing. It actually has a whole chemical arsenal that it unleashes on its enemy. Check this out. AT85 produces this whole cocktail of powerful compounds. You've got some that stop the enemy fungus from even growing or spreading its spores. Then there are others that literally tear apart its cell membranes. And some even send a signal to the potato plant to ramp up its own defenses. It is a full-on, multi-front attack. So we've found our champion. We know what its weapons are. Now it was time for the main event. Could AT85 actually protect real potato plants in a real-world scenario? The battle was moving to the greenhouse. The setup here was a classic showdown. Researchers took a bunch of potato plants and infected them with the blight on purpose. One group was just left to fend for itself. That's your control group. The other group got treated with a spray of our hero AT85 right on their leaves. And then they just watched and measured everything. And the results? Oh, they weren't just good, they were an absolute game changer. AT85 didn't just fight the blight, it completely turned the tables and scored a decisive victory for the potato. First, and this is just wild, the potato plants that were treated with AT85 showed a 93% reduction in how sick they got, a 93% drop. It pretty much completely neutralized the threat. And here's what that actually means for our food supply. The treated plants, they didn't just survive, they thrived. They produced 69% more potatoes than the infected group. That is a massive jump in food production. But AT85 was doing more than just fighting. It was also healing. The scientists measured this key stress marker. It's a chemical that signals cell damage. And in the treated plants, that stress marker was cut by 52%. So the plants weren't just producing more, they were genuinely, fundamentally healthier. And here is the final amazing piece of the puzzle. AT85 also acts like a personal trainer for the plant's immune system. It actually activates key defense genes inside the potato, which triggers its own natural ability to fight off disease. So it's not just protecting the plant, it's teaching the plant how to protect itself. So, when you put it all together, this tiny fungus is a complete game changer. It launches this multi-pronged attack. It directly fights the pathogen, it boosts the plant's growth, it lowers stress, and it activates the plant's own immune system. This is a powerful, sustainable alternative to chemical fungicides, plain and simple. All of this research really opens up a huge and exciting possibility. As we all look for smarter, safer, more sustainable ways to feed the entire world, maybe the solution won't come from a factory after all. Maybe it's been right there in the soil, waiting for us. It really makes you wonder, are we on the verge of a fungal revolution in agriculture?